All right, let's dive into something fascinating today. India's economic survey for 2025-26. Now, this isn't just a dry report full of numbers. It's actually laying out a really ambitious new strategy, a fundamental pivot in how India sees itself and its place in a pretty turbulent world. And right away, the survey kicks off with a central mystery, what it calls a paradox. You see, on one hand, India is posting some of its strongest economic numbers in decades. But on the other, the global system, investors, markets, you name it, they aren't rewarding that success in the way you'd expect. So what's really going on here? And this puzzle, this tale of two completely different realities, is really the driving force behind the entire strategy we're about to unpack. It's the problem that this whole new way of thinking is trying to solve. Okay, so here's that contradiction laid out plain and simple. On the left, you've got the domestic report card, and it is glowing. I mean, real growth is humming along at over 7%. Credit rating agencies are giving upgrades. We're talking the first one from S&P in almost 20 years, and companies are financially solid. But then you look at the other side, and you see these powerful global headwinds just pushing back. The rupee isn't performing as it should, investors are getting skittish, and you can feel the geopolitical pressure mounting. And this isn't just a feeling, it has a real-world impact. It's captured by something called the Power Gap Index from the Lowy Institute. This basically measures the gap between a country's economic potential and its actual influence on the world stage. India's score, a negative 4.0. To put that in perspective, that's the lowest in Asia outside of Russia and North Korea. It really quantifies this disconnect between economic power and global clout. So, why? What is causing this gap? Well, the survey's core argument is pretty stark. The fundamental rules of the global economy have changed. The whole idea of business as usual is completely over. You know, the world that India is operating in today is a completely different beast from what it was even 5 years ago. That old, comfortable assumption that if you just get your economy right, stability and investment will automatically follow, well, that's broken. We're now in a world where trade is a tool of statecraft, supply chains are political weapons, and deep uncertainty is just the new normal. And just look at how precarious the survey thinks the future is. It outlines 3 possible scenarios for 2026. There's a 45% chance of managed disorder, basically things are tense but held together. Then there's another 45% chance of a disorderly breakdown, where things really start to fall apart. And just to top it off, a 10% chance of a systemic shock cascade, something worse than the 2008 financial crisis. You add that up, and you're looking at a 90% probability that the world is going to stay unstable or get even worse. It's against this chaotic backdrop that India is making this massive strategic pivot. The response isn't just about playing defense anymore. It's about evolving to a whole new level of economic thinking. So the first stage of this new strategy is something the survey calls strategic resilience. The best way to think about this is building a shock-proof economy. It's about making sure that when the next global crisis hits, and it will, whether it's an energy shock, another pandemic, or a massive cyber attack, India can take the punch, stay on its feet, and keep moving forward. But building up your defenses is only step one. The ultimate goal, the real endgame, is something far more ambitious: strategic indispensability. This is the offensive strategy. It's not just about surviving shocks. It's about making India so deeply embedded, so critical to global supply chains, that the world literally can't function easily without it. It's about becoming a source of stability for everyone else. And this table just lays out that evolution of thinking so clearly. You know, the old model of import substitution was all about protecting specific sectors. Then strategic resilience broadens that to protecting the entire system from shocks. But strategic indispensability, that's a totally different ballgame. The focus becomes global, and the biggest risk is no longer a trade deficit, it's the fear of losing global relevance altogether. That's a huge shift. Okay, so how exactly does India plan to become indispensable? Well, the playbook laid out in the survey really has 2 main pillars. Let's start with the first one, which is a complete transformation of its industrial and manufacturing sector. And the scale of this ambition is just massive. This isn't about assembling more phones or building more cars. The real goal here is to climb up the value chain, to become a high-tech manufacturing hub that the world relies on for actual innovation, not just cheap labor. We're talking about sectors like semiconductors, green hydrogen, and advanced pharma, areas where becoming a key global player is a strategic necessity. The goal is to go from being a technology adopter to a technology creator. Now, to pull off that high-tech vision, you need something else. And that brings us to the second pillar of the playbook. The survey argues that the role of the government itself has to be fundamentally reimagined. This is such a crucial shift in mindset. The argument isn't for bigger government, but for a smarter one. The state's role needs to move away from being a gatekeeper, obsessed with compliance, control, and regulation. Instead, it has to become what the survey calls an entrepreneurial state, a catalyst that builds capability, coordinates these hugely complex projects, and actively helps the private sector solve problems and innovate. So this new, more capable state isn't just a nice to have. The survey presents it as the absolute bedrock for the entire strategy. It's saying, look, without a state that can act as this kind of dynamic catalyst, the big goals of resilience and indispensability, well, they're just not going to happen. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. This massive strategic pivot, building resilience, aiming for indispensability, and totally redefining the role of the state. What does it all mean when you put it together? This one quote from the survey just captures the challenge perfectly. The kind of transformation India needs is a marathon. It requires long-term vision and a lot of patience. But the unstable global environment means it has to be done with the speed and the urgency of a sprint. There's simply no time to waste. So I think the ultimate takeaway here is that this document is so much more than an economic forecast. It's really a strategic blueprint for national security and prosperity, one designed for a world where the old rules just don't apply anymore. It's India's proposed game plan for becoming a developed nation by 2047. And so, as India sets off on this marathon sprint, it leaves us with a final, really provocative question. In a world where all the old pillars of the global order seem to be cracking, could a strategically indispensable India, acting as a source of reliability and value, actually become a new pillar of stability for everyone? That, right there, is the ultimate test of this incredibly ambitious pivot.